light. So why is the war? Why do we fight? There's one sea, one sky, one earth. So you and I gotta learn to live together. When one hurts, when one needs, we all gotta learn to live together. Peace, make peace, make peace, peace. Alright, isn't it time? Gonna stop time. Isn't it time? Mother, stop crying. Stop the fight. We gotta make peace before it's too late. There's one sea, one sky, one earth. So you and I gotta learn to live together. When one hurts, when one needs, we gotta learn to live together. Peace is peace. Peace. Alright. Peace. Everyone lives, everyone dies. Everyone loves, everyone cries. Round the world we're all alike. So why is there war? Why do we fight? There's one sea, one sky, one earth. So you and I gotta learn to live together. When one hurts, when one needs, we all gotta learn to live together. Peace, make peace, make peace, peace. Alright, isn't it time? Gonna stop time. Isn't it time? Mother, stop crying. Stop the fighting and the hate. We gotta make peace before it's too late. There's one sea, one sky, one earth. So you and I gotta learn to live together. When one hurts, when one needs, we gotta learn to live together. Peace is peace. Peace. Alright. Peace. Peace. Together. Peace. Welcome, everybody. Thank you guys for joining me on Between Two Worlds Chasing Shadows program. And yes, I'm here, your host, Eric White Sky Cloud. It's another Thursday night, and we got lots to talk about. Wow. Things are going on everywhere, across the land, across the world. There's a lot of people out there that are just so caught up in absolute fear. There's people caught up in faith. There's so many things going on. Our country is so screwed. Up. I mean, not screwed, but screwed up. I can't believe it. This is getting to be ups. It's getting nuttier and nuttier all the time. I remember the time. If you guys remember this, I mean, I remember when we had our lockdown, and then everybody was going to the street protesting and making sure that we have the right to breathe, had the right to be 6 feet or right to be anywhere. I remember our focus was being in going into businesses and buildings and had the freedom to do this and the freedom to say and freedom to like basically we were always fighting for our freedoms, what it really was. And then it come to the point where then we had the convoy, and when the convoys came in, everyone's all for it. People up there are backing it up. Every overpass, every bridge, every highway from the west coast to the east coast, supporting the truckers. I mean, it was ongoing, guys. I mean, it was one heck of a gathering and travel. Everyone support each other as much as possible. I mean, it was fine. It was doing fantastic. And then the folks actually got to Ottawa, and they set up camp in the middle of the city next to the Parliamentary building. And basically, it was all to do with we're just fighting for freedom. I mean, really, is there really a law in Canada that we can't fight for our freedom? What happened, folks? We cannot speak for our freedom. What happened? We can't speak up for someone for your freedom. We can't speak up for protecting ourselves, preventing illicit, illegal, forcible drugs shoved into your body and telling you that if you don't take this, you're going to go to hell or you're going to go to jail or just a threat. Is it illegal to say anything anymore? Because if that's exactly what our federal government's doing, then our prime minister, Mr. Trudeau, would turn around and say, you're nothing but a racist, a misogynist. Those words are from Adolf Hitler's past history. He said the same thing, folks, back in 1943. He said the same exact words, racist and misogynist. Trudeau took those words and used them for his repeat of fear mongering every citizen in Canada. Is it illegal to speak up for yourself? Is it illegal to say words on any airing program? Whether we do internet programming or in any shows, any gatherings, is it illegal to say words? It shouldn't be. It should not be illegal, and never will be. But they're trying to make you think you have no freedom. And why do they tell you you have no freedom? Oh, it's in our Constitution. It says you have no freedom. Yes, you do. You had the freedom before even the Europeans came on this land. Everyone had freedom. The people that created colonizations were run by a royal family. They were the ones that created colonization. They're the ones that wanted to control the head of you and the heads, okay? And that's why they're trying to make it. They also try to pass bills or had passed bills where it was illegal for a First Nations person, Indigenous person to vote. It's illegal to speak up for yourself. It's illegal to do anything like every other person had done in this world, whether having a living, having a life. It was illegal for a black person to speak up for themselves. It was illegal for a Chinese or Asian person to speak up for themselves, for their freedoms. Who made those laws? The Europeans. Who made those laws? The royal families. Why'd they make those laws? To colonize you. You know what's going on, folks? We're being recolonized. Think about it. It's called recolonization, but this is not colonization as in, you lose those rights of here, they're not picking race anymore. They're using race as a backup for themselves. But they are going after every race to say you have no right or voice or freedom. And they're taking that from you. And they're trying to get you brainwashed to believe that you're perfectly fine. Stand by me and you be okay. This is what the government tells you. Stand by us and, you give up all your properties to us and you'll be free. Free of what? I didn't know we were in jail. I didn't know we were locked up. I didn't know we didn't have no freedoms before. So what is going on? Why is our federal government and our provincial government trying to make us believe that we don't have any say in the matter? Because they keep on passing bills, or as they say they're passing bills, to say you can't do this and can't do that. You have to have permits for this and permits for that. You cannot gather more than 3 people unless you have a permit. It's true. There's a law. More than 3 people is considered a gang. I'm not kidding you. It was any First Nations person or Indigenous person. If there's more than 3 people in a group, that was considered a gang. If they're gathered together talking to each other, they're considered a gang. Any black person, African American person gathered together, more than considered a gang. Chinese, Asian, you name it, it's considered a gang. White person, you can have as many as you want. Now, I'm not going to separate white from other color, from other race, but here's the thing. The government is using the race card. Do you get it, guys? They're using the race card to make you to hate people like me or my skin tone, even though I'm part Indigenous, but my skin tone, to make me not who I am, or try to say, oh, you're not one of us, you're not one of this. Who are you talking about? They try to make Indigenous people to believe that we're the problem. Their own people. I mean, there are so many people that went to school for years. Let's use residential schools, for example. Regular people went to regular schools. They had no idea what residential school is. All they know the word is school. They don't care about the word residential. They thought it was a school for special kids because that's where I was supposed to go to, a special school. And all these other kids went to special schools because we thought we were called special. But my mothers told us that we're special. Our fathers told us that we're special. So you believe it. We're special. And we still are. But here's the thing, when we are being separated, and they were trying to brainwash us to separate us for the last 2.5 to 3 years on television, because everybody's been watching the TV. Those who were stuck into it, because that's exactly, because when you had the lockdown, you stayed home, you watched the goofy news, and they tell you to do, and be careful, stay clear from here, from that person. Oh, you be safe. And those words, they code those words in your brain. That's called coding. Okay? They code you. That's brain training. And they keep repeating the same thing over again. This is exactly what was used by the Germans and back in the Second World War, as well as the First World War. They learned something by having to brainwash you by repeating. What do you think they played music? One song consistently over and over and over again. Why do you actually listen to the top 40 on a radio station of your choice, and you keep hearing it over and over and over again? They'll say, that's the top number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, you name it. Okay? And that's exactly what they do. They get you to believe that there's only 40 songs that are the best in the world, But whatever happened to the other thousands of other singers and entertainers that were fantastic, that have great music and great songs and great poetry? Because the corporation told you what to like and dislike. That's what it is. You begin to get brain trained. A lot of that music, folks, you may not realize, but a lot of these songs were made specifically, and sometimes were in a certain kind of tone that to basically you're listening to possibly some satanic stuff. It's satanic toning. I never knew. I thought a song is a song. Every every culture had a different pitch to their singing. If you listen to the Asian people, their pitch is high. You listen to a South Asian, East Indian folks, when they sing their songs, the women, their pitch is high. Ours is loud. To hear it loud. However, how your voice is. And most of the time, people always appreciate Italian opera. And if you're just a regular guy on the street trying to sing a song, go, oh, no, you can't sing. Opera's better. And they were doing that for years until someone changed it. I mean, look, here's an example, folks. I remember years ago, back in the 70s, where disco was coming in. Okay, disco became the biggest craze in the world, and it was actually fun music because you were always on the go, dancing, sing song. You enjoyed it, you dressed up, you went out, you had fun, and you're competing with each other dancing. Great nightlife. You know, I love the nightlife, I love the boogie, and that's basically what we did. We loved the nightlife, loved the boogie, we danced. Until one guy on a radio station turned around and said, I hate that crap. We need to get back our rock and roll music. I want all you listeners on my show to take all that disco music and take it to the ball field in some other park, and I want you to take that big bulldozer, I want you to crush it and burn them. And that's exactly what they did. Because of one guy on the airwaves hated disco, and they would say the word disco sucks. And then every Tom, Dick, and Jerry, oh, you don't like the music. No, disco sucks, disco sucks. I said, wait a minute here. I love that music. I was a DJ. That's why I became DJ, because I love mixing music, watching other people mixing music. Oh, you don't know what your music is. You can go back to rock. Rock's best. Like, what? You know what I mean? Like, it's everyone has an ear tone to certain level of song. You either like it or you don't. And that's how it works out. Each of us has a tone. Sometimes that's why you hear the word tone deaf. Sometimes people are tone deaf because they don't understand what the tone is. That doesn't sound like a heartbeat. But if you teach them how to listen to the tone, they're no longer tone deaf. But we begin to believe that we're tone deaf. Someone tells you, oh, you're tone deaf. Someone says to you, oh, there's something wrong with you. Really? Oh, what is it? Oh, you need to take a pill for that. I do? Oh, yes. Oh, your children. Oh, they need to be taken into, they need to go see a psychiatrist. There's something wrong with your child. He's slow. She's slow. Oh, they can't be part of the class. They can't keep up with them, with other children. Or he thinks he's too smart, he's better than them, so we have to separate him, put him in a room somewhere with other kids that are smarter. That's separatism, folks. It wasn't a race. It had nothing to do with the color. There was a lot of kids that had different race and color, and they placed them into different rooms, and they put them in there. And anybody who's really intelligent and smart, then they want them to come on board to work for some scientist, maybe possibly experimented on. Oh, we want you to come work with us and maybe learn how to become a scientist or to build rockets and to blow things up. It had nothing to do with, let's build something that we can help the people across the world. It was actually building things to blow things up. A lot of times, I mean, you watch some of these movies or shows or even books or anything really. That's what they did back in the 70s, 60s and 70s, 80s, and even the 90s. Even today, they're trying to convince the kids, anybody who's smart in the class, we want you to come working for us in the military and we'll blow things up. Why? Why do you guys want to keep on building bombs? Why do you want to keep on hurting people? Why can't we work together and make things that can fix things? You know? So Travis says that the Galactic Federation of Light worlds have been more apparent lately in the skies and dreams. And any comment on this? Yeah, I'll talk about that in a few minutes. Because my first thing on the list is actually UFOs. And why I'm bringing up the subject regarding this, the whole thing in the beginning, is reality. What is reality? Okay, even the word real, what's real? And, what's light? Light. What's in the light? The fact is, there are so many parents today that have become lazy, absolutely lazy, not wanting to, not always protecting their children, because they'll say, "Oh no, the schools will take care of them while I go to work." Meantime, the kid's being taken to a room somewhere, lift his shirt, roll their shirt up, and get a jab in the arm, and they're not going to tell mom and dad because they told them not to. Why? Because the courts and in the liberal government said, "Oh, you don't have to tell your parents anymore because we said so." Who's we? And I didn't know you're our parent. When you vote for someone or some people, we thought that you're there to represent us, not us tell us what to do. But for some reason, the whole matter has turned itself around that every politician is telling you what to do, how you should live, what you have to do. If you don't listen to the politician, then you're going to go to jail or get a ticket. Oh, it's the law. What freaking law? Who brings up all these words? Law. I mean, I'd rather add an E letter to it called the loo, which basically short means toilet. Because pretty well that's what all these little stupid laws are. It's crap, nothing but garbage. And they're making us up because basically that's why they're calling it the New World Order. They're trying to begin, this is what they've been trying to do the last couple of years, it's to begin the grabbing the hands on you to tell you what to do and how to live. See? How to live. Why should someone tell you how to live? Each and every individual has a way of life. We find means and ways to live our life, as in, like, I want to do this. I always had a dream about doing that. That's what I want to do. Right? Vivian says, I love classical jazz, sexy jazz, 1930s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and old time country and western music. Never say music I don't like evil. No. But what I'm saying is they'll use a certain tone. I didn't say evil. They use certain tones to get you to follow what they think is called sexy. And the women that are the singers are pretty well almost hardly any clothes on. And they'll slap themselves in between their legs and grind on the floor, and they want you to love them. No, that's insecurity. And they're doing it because that's the way they do satanic worshiping, is because they want you to follow what they're doing. And you learn it. And that's not a good thing to do. Anybody who's really intelligent enough, smart enough, knows how to sing. You don't have to do all that yourself to sing behind a microphone if you want to sing a song or write or say a poem. It's, or even say even words on the stage or whatever you want to say to someone. You don't go there, grab yourself between the legs and go, "Oh, love me." It doesn't work that way. I've been watching some of the actions that these actors and singers, entertainers have been doing, and it's really going way too far. You know, like I'm not going to name names because there's so many of them, but a lot of the Hollywood people, they come to the point like, why are they still grinding themselves on the floor? It's gotten to the point that that's not entertainment anymore. They've forgotten what reality really is, and that is sing a song. If they like your voice, they love to listen to you, they'll watch you. But if you have to start using motions of your body on the floor and grinding, that's not. I mean, I've been watching it, and it's sickly. I mean, I will say some of these pastors I've been seeing on TV, like Benny Hinn and all of them, they were these guys that are trying to uh, get these folks to come up on the stage and take their little magic jackets and a kerchief, whatever have you, and slap them in the face or hit them down, knock them down, say, "Well, I'm going to heal you." And yet they'll stand there and they'll use their fingers and gestures this way. This is that point. No, that is that devil worshiping point. And they use that gesture all the time when they talk about Jesus and they talk about Eve and spirit. They'll use that gesture and they'll keep pointing it to the people. And they certainly do know what it means. And they're going to carry on doing it because they make millions and millions of dollars. You guys keep on watching these shows. You hand that money over to them for their foundation. Yeah, not for the people to buy all their planes and brand new houses and mansions. That's not a pastor. That's a possessor. That's someone who likes to be in control of the world and control people. Whatever happened to people going out and just talking about God or talking about Jesus or talking about how life is now and what we can do to make things better? Because we can gather. That's exactly what it is. We learn to gather. We come together as whether we're not family or not. The fact is, we create a family. There's a difference between a relation, a born in the family, and then there's friends of families become family, just as much as even family you have. You have more friends. I bet you I got more friends in the world than I do have family because some families don't like listen to what I say because they're afraid. They're afraid to hear the truth. They're afraid, and they are. I'm pretty well the black sheep of my own family, and I am of my relatives. They want nothing to do with me because I'm one of the awoken ones, and I tell them I have connections to people that and special things or special information that's going to help give us our freedom and to stand up for ourselves. We have to. Oh, you're crazy. You're crazy. Like, what are you guys afraid of? Are you afraid of being free? Are you afraid of actually living for doing things for yourself now? I don't want to cause any problems. How can you cause a problem? They are the problem. Your government is the problem and has always been. You're going to have every government official out there and they're saying, I mean, yes, we have a new, for example, here in Surrey, we have a new mayor, Brenda Locke. Love her dearly. She's trying so hard to help people out in the city. Okay, she wants to help stop the corruption, and I understand from her point of view that's what she's doing. But what happens is there's always the ex-mayor that's not going to quit, and he's going to find everything he can to destroy her reputation. And he may even go as far as make things up that are not true, because he himself already knows that he is going to be behind bars soon. But he wants to take some other people with him. And yet she's clean. She's got a clean record, and she's trying her darndest to help people out here in our city. And there's actually a prime minister, once prime minister in the UK. She was only in there for about 40 days, and then she was forced to step down. Who forced her to step down? Who told her that she had to quit? Suddenly she had to stop. Didn't make any sense. Did the deep state got to get a hold of her and told her, keep him, get out of this now before it's too late, or you're not going to be here any longer? Because that's exactly what's going to happen. That's exactly what's happening. A lot of these politicians, if you're not walking the dark side, then they get rid of you real quick, right? Scott Hare's in the room. So, like I said, folks, you're gonna have politicians out there that are trying their darndest. They really want to help save the world, save the people, but it takes people like us, whether it's Trump, whether it's our mayor, new mayor. There are some really good politicians. Like we have another premier in Alberta. She wants to, she's telling everybody right now, don't worry about the mask. Don't deal with it. Stop worrying about them wearing the mask. Stop it. Like she's the one that's awoken, and they're picking the living hell out of her. Oh, you're crazy. We don't want you as a premier anymore. She just got in. You see what I mean? But who's telling the public that she's crazy? The mainstream media. Who's telling the public that the prime minister, the prime minister of UK, who's only been there for 40 some odd days, who told mainstream media? Who's paying the mainstream media to tell them to step down or just basically make up rumors and crap? It's your black hats. It's your bad people. These are the ones. Those are your satanic organizations. They're trying so hard because there's very little. They have very little bit left of pressure to put on people. And so if they can't create a problem for you that you are forced to step down, then they basically will intimidate you to the point of threatening you or your family's lives. I'm not kidding you. This is serious stuff. They're trying to the elites are still trying so hard. The cabal is trying so hard to hang on to what's left. There's nothing left. Nothing left. Just all they can hang on to is just strings. Okay. So then, the last few days, Trudeau has lied in the cabinet about the convoy, and he was using. Remember, he used the Terrorist Act against the convoy, people of the convoy. Now, number one, that was wrong on his part. He shouldn't have done that at all. Period. That was illegal. We already know that. But now they're using witnesses. They want his federal cabinet to step forward. So now they're saying they're actually the sole witnesses. And they're lying. I'm watching them, and they're lying through their freaking teeth. And then the other thing is that I do see when they start to interview the store owners, when that protest took place, the store owners said they wanted to be open to sell their wares and to also provide food and shelter for those that are on the street. And Trudeau's people said, we'll pay you money not to open your doors, or we will fine you if you associate with them, or if people are coming in not wearing a mask, then you're going to go to jail. What's that got to do with opening your doors? You're a business. You're trying to help people. You want to feed them. That's basically accommodate a hotel for them to stay in. But why is our federal government telling all these businesses to not serve the protesters? They're not violent, never were. Oh, they peed on the walls everywhere. Oh, you should see the pee marks. Oh, it's horrible. Who peed in the corner? Homeless. In fact, I'll tell you this right now. When the protesters were down there, the people that had no homes, the houseless people, they were very well taken good care of at the time because there was so much food in their hands for those months being there, over a month, that they were fed so well they forgot that they were homeless. Does that tell you anything? Or the urinals and the tents, the food tents, be taken away by the RCMP or the city police, OPP. They'll take them away. Why would they take them away? Why would they take those latrines away? Why would they take all that away? Right? Because they knew that if they took those things away, that they'll probably go away. They didn't go away, did they? No, they didn't. Nobody went away because people brought their own latrines. People brought make sure they had their own. I mean, you got to listen to me, some folks. Truckers have their own bathroom. They will have a commode of their own in their own camp. They're all their trucks are camperized. Okay, they're camperized. You got a bed, you got internet service, you got your own commode. You don't have nothing to worry about. Sure, other people that don't have their truckers are there. Okay, they're there. But what happens? So they're trying to make everything possible, impossible for people to actually even make it succeed. No, no, they can't. It doesn't work that way. But Trudeau is saying that all these people that were there were terrorists, misogynists, rapists, murderers, whatever name he can use. Oh yeah, he was trying to use those words. And the major word they were using a lot was racist. And here's one thing that really ticked me off. I was in shock. An Indigenous woman who actually was in cabinet even stated that all of the protesters that were out in Ottawa trying to protect her, to ask for freedom, she said in her own words, that they were all racists. How dare you say that in cabinet? You don't represent people like that. But she was making a statement. She says, "Oh, all the white, there's no Indigenous people out there that are protesting, just white people." No, there were. Half the group was actually Indigenous, folks. Half the group, whether Métis and First Nations, they were there supporting it. Do you understand? That's exactly what happens. People get caught up and forget. Because sure, I'll tell you this really does work. That does happen. When you see something on TV, or if you hear of a protest, or if you hear of anything that's ever taken place, we support whatever anybody does. Or if you sing a song or you do shows about a certain subject, after 6 months, for example, say this show I'm doing right now for you guys, after 6 months, you would forget all about what I just told you. Because you're only thinking of the now. Some of you may hang on to some of the memory of it, what I've brought up for our subject concern, but most of you will actually forget all about it and go back to what you once did. And I'm trying to give you a heads up, because what's going to happen in the next few weeks, and it's getting very, very close. November is going to come, and the words are November, I'm sorry. Remember the 5th of November. Okay, and it's going to be a very important day. Halloween, you're celebrating All Hallows Eve. You're celebrating a satanic day. Some people say, oh, no, it's not. Well, you'll find out, because every Satanist look forward to it. Why? I don't know. Sacrifice or two? Travis, any thoughts about the underground cities? Yes. We also have issues with that too. We've had underground cities in Vancouver, and we have an underground city in Surrey. We have underground cities everywhere. Every city that you see, large cities, always had an underground city under them. Have they been cleaned out? Yes, most of them have. In fact, in Ottawa, as we speak, there are federal marshals now cleaning up what's left in Ottawa. You'll see there's 2 cranes outside fenced off Ottawa grounds. You're thinking they're renovating? No. No, it's being taken out. It's being cleaned out, as in really bad stuff, because there's an underground tunnels in there underground. This is all basically, folks, you need to understand one thing. Every parliamentary building was built by the Freemasons. Now, one specific parliamentary building was in Winnipeg, okay? And there's a guy that did a documentary about the parliamentary building in Winnipeg and how it's built by the Freemasons. And the Freemasons were very proud of it. There's photographs of them saying they built it. And in fact, there's even, I always say this all the time, there's one room in that building not even the prime minister is allowed to walk into. Someone who's higher up, not even the queen, even she was not allowed to walk into that room. And that belongs to the Freemasons. What's in that room, what they do in there, you'll never know. So, yeah, Chinese police stations here. Actually, we have Chinese police stations now being set up in Vancouver. I am very angry about this. The Chinese Communist Party are actually now stationed here in Vancouver. Trudeau allowed it to happen back in 2019. The military are here. They were marching downtown, the Chinese military marching downtown in Vancouver not too long ago, not even a few weeks ago. And there was a Chinese woman who was walking by them, and she knew what they're all about, and she didn't like them whatsoever, and I guess she must have said some words. A lot of the army, the Chinese military, grabbed her, pulled her into the streets, and murdered her there in the middle of Vancouver. They killed her. I'm not kidding you. They killed her in the street. And not one police officer came up to the said to them, you can't do that. Our government did not even approach them saying, why did you kill them? You don't see no charge laid against the Chinese military. You won't. You know why? Because the Chinese military own Vancouver now. They control Vancouver. This is their territory. We have no say in the matter. Not even the freaking mayor. The police officers can't do nothing about it. Because our government, our Trudeau and Harper, signed over Vancouver to the Chinese military. So they can go ahead and kill anybody they want and get away with murder. That's why there's Chinese police stations in Canada. And they should not be here. None whatsoever. Why would they go out their way and kill a woman on the street? They're trying to tell you something, that they can do whatever they want, get away with murder, and you can't touch them? No. What do? We run away. Oh, don't touch me. I'm okay. I'm sorry. I won't bother you. You're Chinese. This is racist, so I'll stay away from you people. They're in our freaking country. And Trudeau says, oh, well, they're here for training. Training? No, they're here to kill you. They're here to take you down. If you don't do what they want, they're going to hurt you. I'll tell you why. Okay? I told you guys a couple years back that the Chinese were building a base outside of Surrey. And no one believed me. Like I said, I get my intel. And no one believed me. Oh, no, you're crazy. No, they wouldn't do it. Yes, they did. Back in late in 2019, they were building the Chinese military base outside of Surrey. And they did that for about 6 months. And then they tried to even go as far as dig an underground tunnel all the way to Washington, D.C. And this is when Trump was still president. At the time, he was active as president. And they were coming out from underground. They're going to attack the White House. Trump got word that they were about to attack the White House, and he was waiting for them at the end of the tunnel. And they took them out, blew up the tunnel with them inside. Now, did it go into the mainstream media? No. You know why? Trump didn't say don't put it on there. The mainstream media was told not to talk about it. CNN was paid by the bad guys and said don't say a word, keep your mouth shut. Even though there was a little vibration of the ground rumbling. Oh, there was a little bit of an earth tremor. That earth tremor was an explosion. Very similar to 911, folks. So the thing is that you guys may not realize we have to say enough is enough. Okay. Like Scott says, 230,000 Chinese nationals have been persuaded to return to China. Yeah. They're giving them an option to leave now, or it's a war. I already knew about this back in 2000 because my extraterrestrial friends told me that there was going to be a war between the United States and Canada, or with the United States and Canada against China. That was going to happen. Now, but it can be changed. We can fix it. You know? So the thing is that people don't realize how bad it is. And there is thank you, Vivian. There's a guy by name, he used the name Serpenza. This fellow is from South Africa, and he actually is white, South African. He went to China about 10, 12 years ago and learned to speak Mandarin and different dialects of Chinese because he wanted to work there. He's a really talented young man. And he went there specifically to work, and he thought, okay, I'm going to go run around now and take my video and record all the cool things that are happening in China. But then he started noticing some things that didn't make any sense, and he decided to record the bad stuff that took place in China and different things. It was giving people a heads up about what to do, what not to do when you come to China. The Chinese people caught wind of what he was doing in the videos on YouTube, and they decided to say, hey, you're a traitor, and they've wanted to go after him, and they put him behind bars a couple of times, but they released him and his friends that they were friends of, and he got free. And then he fell in love with a Chinese doctor. They had a child together, and he knew then he was in danger. Both him and his wife and child was in danger, so they decided to leave China and move to United States. So his shows now are based out of the USA. But if you ever watch his programs, he'll show you the truth because he's had these recorded for the last 10 years. And I've seen some of his stuff, and he's just telling you the truth. He's just telling you, say, here's what goes on there. I mean, he said he even witnessed a man running around with a samurai sword and ran up to a white guy, a tourist, and stabbed him in the back with a samurai sword and walked away, and that tourist died in the street. And he didn't do nothing. He just got off the plane, looking around to do some touring, and I guess that man, the Chinese guy at the time, was insane. He was there at the wrong place, wrong time, and stabbed him in the back, killed him with a samurai sword, and ran away. We don't know what that was about. All we know is that he was a tourist, supposed to be a tourist, and was murdered in the street. Did the Chinese police do anything about it? No. And he was a witness to it. So many things happened there. Thing is that when you go to a foreign country, folks, you have to make sure you're prepared to learn the language. Not walk in there, I'm a tourist, take me places. Learn some of it, at least. Serpenza and his American friend who had led the same life in China have now been moved to USA. Yes. Yeah. Oh, he's exposed them now. And he puts his video out there all the time. I've known about Serpenza for 4 or 5 years, before even COVID started. And you got used to seeing his videos after. I went, I'm used to that. So I stopped looking at them after, because it was just the same, pretty well, I mean, there are some joyful things that you see in China that you said, you go to and you'll enjoy. But a lot of it was, you find the communism in it. There's a lot of people conning people, the tourists. and the women were trying to gather around you as a tourist and try to get you to come into one of the tea houses. Next thing you know, there's prostitution involved, and next thing you're walking out and you're spending thousands of dollars for a cup of tea. And you weren't even wanting to go for sex. You were just there to be a tourist. But that's what they do. And probably almost every country does that in some by some means, but that's what this particular group did. And he would tell the story. So yes, we do have the Chinese police being developed, made here in Vancouver. They're based out of Vancouver right now. They're playing the role. They were not the Chinese police were not sworn in by our Canadian police. Were not sworn in by our government. They are their own entity. The Chinese military are here. Don't get in their way. But we need to have a chat with the Canadian Armed Forces and find out what they're going to do next, because that's not cool. You don't allow another military to build a base here. This is not your typical place where, you say when you have your foreign centers, like your buildings where, for example, if you're in a foreign country and you have the U.S., I can't recall it now, the U.S. and the Canadian place where you're safe behind these fences, that's not here. The military are here to come after you because we lost 80% of that land to them because our government, Harper and Trudeau, handed it over and signed it over because they promised him money. Lots of it. Why do you think he became a billionaire? Why do you think he said he admires the dictatorship of China? Because I got him money. Why do you think Joe Biden goes to China all the time, both him and his son? And he's always out there with little girls all the time in China. He's the biggest investor in there. So, like I said, folks, it's crazy. It's absolutely nuts. As I also want to talk about, just quickly catch up to this part here in Ottawa. A lot of the store, like I said before earlier, a lot of store owners in Ottawa during when they had the truckers convoy, the stores wanted to stay open, and the hotel wanted to stay open for those guys, right? And yet our Canadian government told them, like I said before, told them, if you stay open, you're one of them. And then they even threatened them to even take them to jail or to charge them like high dollar. They would fine them for opening the doors to the truckers. Well, like I said, it's business, right? You're selling a food. People need to eat. But our Canadian government, this liberal government, they're as communistic as anybody else. Okay? And I will say that. This liberal government that we have right now is so communistic. They don't care who you are. You watch what they say and listen to what they say. You're going to be totally blown away. You're going to be so upset. And here's what really gets me. I can't figure out how come Trudeau is still in business, still in government. You know why? Because he basically cheated his way in the second election, because we were in lockdown. Only 10% voted for him, and he still got in. Why? Because he still used the very same way that Joe won, because they cheated their way through by same voting machine, same machine. And that's going to be investigated. That's being investigated too. Because Trudeau should never been prime minister. He should have been gone a long time ago. I mean, this fake one. Right? Now, I'm saying all these things, and they're saying, well, Derek, you're saying, Derek, well, if he's fake, then why should we worry about these problems? This is all to wake you guys up. Stand up. I'm not mad at the government. I'm mad because you guys aren't listening. I'm mad that you guys are not paying attention. Please pay attention. Closely watch your government, because a lot of your government officials actually were. I seen. I mean, they were walked out of Parliament in this wonderful, jewelry that was. I couldn't believe it. It was silver, and it was on both wrists, and then they love to use it, and so they walked them out graciously, and nobody paid attention. Nobody out there in Ottawa paid attention. Oh well, no, I'm probably just taking a day off. Are you kidding me? Sure, some of your politicians capitulated, but basically most of them, they're done. Most of your liberal government is gone. They're done. Anybody that tries to avoid the questions in Parliament, those parliamentary questionnaires and all that stuff, that's just stage. Nothing but stage. Because Polyev himself was best buddies with Bill Gates. Did you know that? Did you guys know that? I bet you guys didn't know that, did you? There's a photograph of him, Polyev, shaking hands with Bill Gates and signing a deal with more C-19s. Oh, you didn't know that, did you? Uh-huh. I got the pictures. Do you really want to trust your conservative government? They're just leading you guys. I'm not kidding you. You got a very corrupt NDP. You got Singh and Jagmeet. He's done dinner too. I mean, he was also connected to Air India, the one that blew the Air India bombing. He's connected to that as well. They won't let him in India. His own country won't let him in. His last name is not Singh, by the way. That's the name they take when they become a warrior with a turban. So his real name, now he's running around calling himself Goldilocks, like he's just very happy with his hair, which is wonderful. We all have wonderful hair. So he's playing the game. He's going on TikTok and talks about himself personally, and he's the man of the hour. Don't trust him. He's doing that to get you to joyfully follow him. But he was corrupt, just like everybody else. Watch the stuff that goes on, folks. Watch how they move. Here's what I've learned from politicians. When they can't look at you and say something, they're nervous. A person like myself, I'm a psychic medium. When I read them, as I look at them, they get very nervous. And all of you are every one of you out here are very intuitive. In this, everyone that's in the chat room, thank you guys for being part of the Facebook as well as YouTube chat room and as well as Telegram, because basically that's what's happening. You guys need to look at them, at their eyes. They get nervous. If they're lying, they're going to get nervous. If they're not lying, they're telling the truth, then they're relaxed with you, they're fine. You will have some really good people out there that are trying so hard to do better. And yet, how come they can't get in? Because there are always someone out there with money that says, I'm better than you. Yeah, okay. Vivian, you're funny. I can't say it, but yeah, I understand. Guys, have to read it when you have a look at it. It's funny. That's true, Corlin. It's the eyes are the windows to the soul. The thing is that I've learned to see people for themselves, who they are and what they are. If your intention, good intention, like I said before, here in Surrey, we have a new elected mayor, but yet this ex-mayor, McCallum, is trying his damnedest, and he's saying, no, I want a recount, and what she was doing was illegal, and like he's just. And he even had a couple other politicians follow him, and say, "Oh yeah, he's right. There was illegal." No, there was no illegal. You know, yeah, true, Scott. Some actually have no soul. They're just ass souls. uh, okay, there's 3 bases where the Chinese military are based. One in Seychelles and one in Vancouver and one's in Surrey. And then they used to have their base also in the Stanley Park in Vancouver as well. So I'm not sure they're still there anymore. Um, oh yeah, people are nervous of me when they get close to me. They said there's something about your energy, Derek. I was like, you make me feel weird. You make me feel like weak. And I said, well, yeah, because I'm good looking. Just kidding. Oh, underground bases, yes. Now you guys have talked about. Oh, before I go further, Mr. Mick Flair, in your chat room, you sent me that stick, that piece of wood in the mail as a gift. I really loved it, dearly. What is the name of the wood? Okay, please send that to me. Or just write it down on the chat room so I can write it down. Because, yeah. I was trying to tell somebody, and they said, oh, it's got termites in it. I'm like, no, it doesn't. So, Mick will tell me. Let's see. Like I said, but yeah, underground bases. Travis asked about this. Thank you, Rigwood. Travis asked about it, and about underground tunnels. Yes, we still have those. Some of them, most of them actually have been flooded. They're Here's what we call their dumb. We call them DUMBs, DUMBS, deep underground military bases. You think, okay, military as in a good military? No, these are deep underground, as in Chinese military bases. There was under Vancouver and Surrey and Abbotsford and Chilliwack and those regions going east of us and up the Coquihalla Highway. That was mostly a submarine base, Chinese submarine bases and Chinese bases underground. That got taken out. Trump's people took care of it. The alliance came in and boom, boom, took them. We may have lost a highway for a while. They have to rebuild, yes, but they had to do that because all the tunnels were blown up and flooded out. So, Bark Beetle Canal. Okay, thank you. And my wife thinks it's termites. Folks, if you haven't never seen it, Mick sent me a wonderful looking stick about this long, and it's red, and it had all these little look like channels of worms. If you're say you're underground, and you see the worm channels, eh? Well, the whole stick had these little channels and it looked really, really cool. And so I made use of it, and I wanted to find out what it was called. I remember I wasn't sure if it was a redwood or it's called. There's actually another name that started with an M of the tree, and I thought, gee, it looks so familiar. So I thought, okay, I'll wait till Mick comes on and I'll find out exactly what it is. Then I can tell my wife and say, honey, it's not termites. So yeah. Let's see. Yeah, I know. You're just tuning in. Um, Lots to see. Follow folks that when what you have watched at the beginning of this program, please watch it again. Share that with your friends. Love to play these guys. Everyone needs to know about it. Also, Trudeau is talking about or has talked about. They're doing it, or they're really forcing it. They're trying to raise gas prices even higher to the point where you cannot drive your car. They want to shut it down. Basically, they don't want you to drive your vehicle anymore. They were trying to get to control you again. That you'll never drive. no travels. Like they're trying to get you off the streets again. That like they're playing the game of, okay, we're going to do another lockdown. We're going to get by the way, we're going to start at we just invented a brand new V. There's a brand new V, and they're so excited about having it. Oh, I can't believe it's a brand new V coming out. Oh, okay, now you guys we might have to lock you down and put masks on back on you again. No, ain't gonna happen. In fact, a fellow by the name of CS sent that video, and I got the video sent to me. And he in his travel, he's talked about the new V that's been passed out to everybody, or saying here is what this, and it actually has numbers and codes on it. It doesn't even have a name. It's numbers and codes. And he was saying that they were so excited. The mainstream media and the politicians were so excited to say, we look forward to seeing it coming. Are you freaking kidding me? You look forward to seeing it coming? You guys are in so much control of the public that you just enjoy doing that? You want to torture your own people? Ain't gonna happen. SW, nice to see you. Is that who I think it is? I don't know. Okay. I can't see. Who's SW in my chat room? I forgot. Hey, Danielle. Nice to see you. So basically, like I said before, oh yeah, you did, eh? You started creating you did 5-foot redwood wizard staff this afternoon. It to be has, wow, cool. Yeah, it's really cool stick. I mean, I make good use of it. Actually, what I did, I'm gonna be honest with you, Mick. What I did, I cut it in half and turned them into 2 rattles. So they're handles for 2 rattles. So it's really cool. I was trying to come up with an idea for them because, and I'll tell you why. Because this is what I make rattles too, guys. This is one of the pieces that I made. So this is actually has special stones in here, and there's not a kid's rattle. This is a ceremonial rattle. I just finished making that one, and these ones here. So I did the paint job and everything on them. So this is my work, and it has all elk hide. This is some of my rattle work. You know. This, what I put in here is medicine, certain special stuff. So you can shake these around the room or shake around the person, and it takes the negative energy away. There's special items inside here that people say they feel the energy like as if it's lifting off of them, like it's clearing it off. It's removing residual stuff off. It's a lot of fun to do. Oh, Steve. Oh, Steve, and I know who that is. Okay, forgot. It's been a long time since I saw you, bro. We need to talk, by the way. Really talk. So yeah, I just finished doing the rattles. They're in the other room, and I'll show you later on, Mick, what they look like. I'll take pictures of them, send them to you. But they look really, really cool. People so far, and the hide I used was elk hide. It's raw elk hide, and it's and looks really, really cool on there. So yeah, they're gonna look. So I'm looking forward to. If Mick, if you ever want to send more of those to me, I'll take them the same thickness, width. You know, if you're able to send some down, I'll take them off your hands. Yeah, because I love them. They're really cool. I love wood, guys. I mean, I'm sure you guys love wood. Like too, I love carving into deer bone and wood and that thing, and I make different kinds of items. That's what I enjoy doing. So it keeps me out of trouble. So Daniel says, I always thought it was interesting that the first picture ever drawn of an alien gray was by Aleister Crowley, and he said that he created a doorway entity named Lamb entered through. Well, you guys may not realize, but see, I'm sure Daniel may know, Crowley actually is the father of George Bush Sr.'s wife. Okay, so Barbara Bush actually is Crowley's daughter. Did you know that? So yeah, Crowley's creepy. He was for some reason, Daniel, his energy was very creepy. I felt very uneasy um, with him, with his energy, just being in the energy of him. He was very dark. I mean, he was very, very dark. In fact, somebody did a movie about Crowley, and I watched probably about halfway through it. And I'm going like, oh man, this person who's playing Crowley was like they were doing it's a biography, but they were reenacting the biography. Plus, they're reading out of his um, manuscripts, and he was reading word for word out of his manuscripts, and he was saying the satanic words. And oh my God, I felt so uneasy and very and there because when you start saying these things out loud on film, it makes you feel really bad, like you don't feel comfortable. Um, so yeah, I mean, if you want the proof, Daniel, regarding Crowley's daughter being Barbara Bush, I've got photographs of it, a photograph of Crowley and her. So yeah, and I can send it to you. Just make a connection with me, and I'll send you the pictures. Let's see. Scott says, "Can you shake it on yourself? Nearly bled out last week, and the city needs some good energy. Three police officers were ambushed and two killed. That sucks, man. Yeah, you can shake this around yourself. I not just this, but I mean, I'll give you an idea. Grab another one here. So this is actually, it's called a brown mussel, and I made this into a rattle as well. It's not completely finished, but inside has the medicine I make, and I can't tell you what it is because I channeled the medicine, but when you shake it over someone, people feel lightheaded after. They go like, "Whoa, whatever it is you're using, and it has a sound. You have to find the balance. Anybody that wants to make a rattle yourself, I recommend shells. Two-sided shells, and to get yourself a piece of wood or whatever, and try to glue it. But find yourself some proper stones and whatever message you feel is inside, and you shake it over people. Okay, or yourself or the room, even the clearing the room, guaranteed the cats are gone. I'm just kidding. um, no, clearing the room, and you will notice that you begin to feel like, wow. And that's what this does. This is what this energy does. And there's a lady I know that buys my stuff for her in her store. She has a metaphysical store, and she got one of these rattles herself for her store because some people can't handle the smudge, the smell of sage. So, and because they also have fire alarm system set up in their shop. So instead of having smoke going off almost all the time, I told her, I said, we use this, and you shake your store before you open the doors, or for the person who actually feels very, very unsettled if they're coming in needing help, use this. And then so they did, and she says she knows a big difference because that's what this does. It clears all the negative energy out, and people don't realize that there's a lot of grounding stones in here. Okay, so you're grounded when you feel so strong and heavy, and your feet are like planted into the dirt. And that's what this does. It does a really good job. What I use for this handle here is actually deer horn. So I mean, I use different varieties of items, and yeah, these are seashells. This one here actually is called a brown mussel. Brown mussel, and it's a really lovely. I actually dreamt about this. I had a dream about this about 4 or 5 years ago, and Spirit said, and they showed me how to make it, how to put it together. So they said, make this, and this will get you. People will get these. They'll start to use these for help, for the others and themselves. So I started making them, and I was like, so you'd maybe do 3 or 4 at a time, and then after that, and I was selling these. But it went to the point that I ended up being like more people could supply and demand. They want more, so I started making more. Daniel says conch shells were used to combat demons. Yes, same as the shofar, because they both produce a golden spiral frequency. And interesting that the harmonics of many different sorts of are actual powerful spiritual tools. You're right, Daniel. It is true. Now, I put in certain kinds of stones here and mix them up, and these are, you'll feel the vibration. You know, that's what this does. And you shake it over people. Like you go in a circle, like from, like this, right? And they themselves will feel the energy like pull. It's almost like as if you're feeling like you're getting rid of all the congestion of hardship and fear and emotion that's makes you feel like the. So this is what this does. Um, and this is what this is really good for. It really helps a whole lot. You'd be surprised what these can do. But once you try it for the first time yourself, guaranteed you're gonna. And I use another one. I actually have another one I'm working on right now. It's called a pink. Pink. Where are you, bud? Okay, so this one here again, deer horn. Now this is just temporary to hold it on, but I had to do some major gluing in there to hold together. But once it's all finished with the leather work and the finish, again, different sound, but this is a really nice shell. And you don't want your shells to be bulky and that's too hard to hold. But you want to make where you want this to balance with your hand, right? And they're not meant to be for heavy weight. The proper shaking of a rattle is not your musical rattle, not the one that you go like this and you're rattling. This is a shaker. This is a particular special rattle. Some rattles that medicine men will use. I myself am a pipe carrier, but some medicine men will use certain kinds of items that even their rattles will glow in the dark when they shake them. And some rattles will actually literally, seriously, during the ceremony in the dark, they will levitate off the ground and shake themselves over the person. That person could be 10, 20 feet from you, and that rattle will levitate to you, shake over you, and then go back to the person, whoever owned it. I'm not kidding you. It's the absolute truth. So, when you make an item like this, this is called pink cadmium. That's what this is called, pink cadmium. So it's a really good shell to use. Shell helps. You know what I mean? The old commercial, shell helps. But you'll start getting a lot of those shell jokes out there. But no, these are fun to use, and I get a lot of people that will buy varieties of these, and this is actually a bean, and it looks almost like Mexican type, but it's not. It's a bean, and then I drill the top, put the medicines inside, and then reseal it, and I just paint it up and give it that look. This is what I do. Yeah. So everybody likes something different. I make like different varieties of rattles that can accommodate per each person. Everybody has a connection to a rattle, but they're very, very important to have. Let's see. Daniel says, I have never learned the medicine man's secret of salt. Why and how does salt work? And you see it in movies and lore. What is your insight in this? I use salt a lot, and what salt is actually is to keep. See, I'll give you guys an explain part of that. Salt is pure. You don't want to use table salt. You want to use sea salt. Okay, sea salt is very important. And you take a pinch of sea salt. See, whenever you go into a house, you want to clear bad things out of the house, even bad spirits. You take a pinch of salt with you, or take salt with you, and take a pinch of that, and you go to every corner of the room of the house and do a prayer, because you're asking that spirit pushes away the hidden spirits that are hiding in the dark, because they like to hide in corners. And you just pinch the salt, you just pray, you do a prayer for every corner, whether it's in the house or outside the house. I will have oh, I say a good abundance of salt, and I will make a trail of salt around the whole perimeter of the house, an exterior of the house. And then I'll, like, as I'm doing it, I'm playing the salt. Then the next thing I do is I go back and I bring out a bag of tobacco, and, and I'll do the same thing. I'll put tobacco over around the house as well, because tobacco is also prayer protection. So you got a prayer, you got a protection to scoot out the negative, and then you got a prayer that's used to ground your location where you are. So anytime I come in to do, for example, saying I do a paranormal investigation, I'll always do a prayer with tobacco before I enter the building, or on even on land of any sort. I always do a prayer protection, take the tobacco and make an offering to the spirits and say, well, if there are any ancestors in that location, they're uncomfortable and they wish to communicate with me, they're more welcome to. But if they want to try to harm others, that they'll have to come to me, because that's what my job is. Um, I'm now watching you on YouTube TV next to Thursday Night Football. Oh, good. Thank you very much, sir. I'm on television now. Um, yeah. So you can do is, as I said before, take your sea salt, take a pinch in every corner of the house. This will benefit with your prayer because you're doing prayer of intention. Now, people also say, well, how long can that salt stay there? As long as you need it there. And then later on, if you decide to vacuum your house, this sort of thing, you're not going to harm anything, because the salt was placed there for a reason, was to chase out the negative, and it won't come back to the house. Because you're basically, what you're doing, you're scooting out everything else. Now, and there's also one more thing I do recommend too. People will ask regarding, like, why. Okay, they also say, like, the grandmothers. Many times the grandmothers will say, get a glass of water and you put it in the window, and you do a prayer in the glass of water. And what the glass of water does, it draws the spirits to the water. They're actually, so they love being close to positive energy, or water's pure, and they like to be close to purity. So they'll come to the water itself. So you do a prayer and then they get caught in the water. So after 3 days of that water being in the window, then you take the water, you go outside and you pour it out into the ground. And then you come back in the house and redo it again. But the glass, it has to be glass. It cannot be plastic. It have to be pure. So again, you can take your glass of water, not tap water if you can get, not mineral water either. You want water that's more oxidized, that's pure itself. Or if you're able to get mountain water, great. But anything from the tap is kind of corrupt anyways already, especially with all the other garbage they put into it. But if you can find some good water and put it in your glass, about an 8 ounce, 4 ounce, whichever, and then just put in your window, leave it there for about 2 or 3 days. Then once you're done, then you take it outside and pour it out. And then you can do it for a while, for the next 2 weeks. Then after that, you'll notice your house begins to very settle. I mean, it will begin, your house begins to settle down, and you feel more comfortable with yourself. You're not going to feel like, oh, this house feels so uncomfortable, I don't know what to do, I'm restless. When you see, I always tell people that as often as you put in good intention in the house, and not fear, good intention, that your house will always be balanced. In my home, anybody comes in my home, they'll all tell me, they'll say, wow, I come in your house, like, I feel like I want to sleep. Well, I also have rock salt lamps as well. I got 20 of them, not in one location, but 20 rock salt lamps, all, and they're on. They're not turned off. They're on, because when they're on, the heat from the light bulb is what that it's emitting is the heat from the rock salt. That's purity, and that keeps the house calm. My house, you'll never seldom ever have depression in this house. People come in here and they want to fall asleep because they feel so comfortable with the rock salt lamps. I have different varieties of sizes in my living room. That's the area where I work with my clients. If anybody's been in my home, they'll know, right? They'll say, wow, it feels really good in here. And same with my, like, behind me, my studio, my working studio. I make my crafts in here. I made this guy here. I make other puppets. During the lockdown, COVID times, I wanted to do something different, keep my hands occupied, so I started making puppets. And I thought, I can do that because I know how to sew. I've been sewing since I was 14, and I'm 66, so I've got two sewing machines back behind me, regular one and industrial. So I make bags, I make all kinds of stuff, leather bags, that sort of thing. So, it's keep me busy. And yeah, this is what I do. Okay, so Daniel says, what is your advice for succubus, family, spirits, or seducing charms? I'm very controlled with my energy field around me, but I deal with this like annoying mosquito bites that heal quickly. Um, okay, number one, succubus actually is a entity that loves to have sex while you sleep. It is actually, I'm not gonna say it's not a demon. It's from a dark side. It's a female, and she loves to take advantage of the men that are young. If you're older, they are not always bothering you as much, but they come after you if you're quite young, and they try and get you sexually aroused while you sleep. That's if you're involved a lot in the paranormal, or if you're involved a lot in this sort of field, what I'm doing right now. They will come around to see, and they check. You're being tested, so to speak. And I've seen people get caught up in it where they're seduced. I mean, there was even a movie called, geez, the movie was out a long time ago, The Entity, where there was a demon that actually was sexually assaulting a woman in her home while she sleeps. So, and she herself, it kept going after her, raping her pretty well, pretty well. She was being raped constantly. Then I guess she was actually looking for help, so she went to a paranormal group of guys, and what they did is they found themselves a warehouse, and they built a copy of her bedroom and her living room, or I say copy of her house, in this big huge arena, and they played the same role. Whereas if she's sleeping in the very same, they took all her furniture out of the house, put it in this bed, or put in it made it look like a real bedroom, and that entity grabbed her and took advantage of her. Literally, she was lifting off the bed, and she was totally naked, and hair off the bed, and he was having sex with her, levitating above the bed, and you could see the bruise marks all over her, And so, in the end, when she started reaching her 50s, 60s, then he stopped coming to her because she was getting older. So they only take you on when you're young. When you start leaving that, you start your looks start to give up. You're no longer uh, as young as you once looked. As you look in the mirror, um, they don't bother you anymore. They're not interested in you. They're always looking for the young ones, so whoever they can take advantage of. Okay, so it's and also again or seducing charms. Yeah, the gypsies are known for seducing charms, and most of the time they like to do that. They It's an old school way of thinking. They like to do that a lot. I mean, I dealt with that sort of thing before. There was a lady that was a very well known name. Her family up here in Vancouver, and they're all cousins and sisters and whatever have you. And they would come up with these little charms to see if they can seduce people. And a lot of seduction is not just always gypsy; it's also Wiccan. So, and there's a couple ladies that I know up in this area that were practicing black magic, black Wiccans more than just white magic or white Wiccans. So they were going into our dark side, and they tried to disrupt one of my healing circles that I was holding. I had about 30 people in the healing circle, and these two Wiccans showed up, and one of them tried to do this incantation charm on me while I was trying to do the healing circle, and she was rubbing herself between her legs, and she was rocking back and forth and saying these words. I didn't hear her words, but and she's rocking herself while she's grabbing herself, and I kept trying to avoid her, constantly turning it sideways and do other things because I wasn't going to say, "Excuse me, why are you grabbing yourself in the crotch?" But this is what she was doing. Her eyes are rolled back, and her eyes are like I'm thinking like, why is she here? When you have a native healing circle going and you have a Wiccan in your room, they like to challenge you to see who's the most powerful in the room. And so my attention was focused on the people, and I didn't pay attention to her. But my mistake was this: she practiced hypnotism, and I guess that one time she caught me off guard, and that day, after we took a break, she came up to me and said to me, "Look in my eyes." And she like this, and she caught me off guard, and she says, "You're going to stop all this. You're going to quit all this. You're not nothing to do with this anymore. You're going to walk away, and you're done." And she walked away, and my wife came up to me, and I said to my wife, I took off my medicines. I was taking everything off. And I said, "I don't want nothing to do this anymore. I'm quitting." And she said, "Why?" I said, "Because I'm supposed to." Well, who said this? Well, she did. And my wife turned around and she goes, "No, you're not." And she grabbed me. My wife put her hand on my chest, and she did this. She listened to me. Listen to your heart. And she said, "Listen to me." She says, "Listen to your heart inside of you. You're the ones in control of your life, not her." She said, "We'll get rid of her. You need to take care of you." She says, "Come back, come back." And I was like, "Whoa, where am I here?" And she caught me off guard. Now, she tried to do it again, this other girl. This time I was aware of it, and I went, "No, you can't hypnotize me again. You caught me off guard." Because I was being friendly. When you're a friendly person, you're relaxed, you're talking to people. You don't want to make yourself feel like as if you're the only person in the room, that you're important, like you're the only guy in the room and everybody else is like lesser than you. I don't do that. Everyone's my equal. So she was trying to see if she can control me, like thinking, believing that her skill as a witch was more powerful than mine. And then I found out later with spirit, they told me that as long as I work with the good side and work with my higher spirit, higher self, as well as my extraterrestrial friends working with me, she can't touch me. And so that very same girl, um, she actually came by my house, and she was doing her yelling and screaming, and she kept on saying, "Wiccan rules, witchcraft rules, Wiccan rules." And I said, "Well, not really." And she goes, "I'll prove it to you. I'll show you," she says. And then she takes off. That night I was sleeping, and I had a dream about a witch chasing me. She had white hair. She was chasing me all over the place in my dream. I'm trying to figure out, like, why is she chasing me? And I stopped and went, "No, that's it." And I went, "No." And I spoke in native tongue, and I said, "You will never harm me again, and I'll make sure you'll never harm me again. From now on, your hair is no longer white. You will not have any hair." And whatever I said, and I woke up that day. I was out in my yard doing something, and she's walking by the front of my house about around after lunchtime, and she's crying, and she's got her hand on her head like this. She's crying and in tears, and I'm looking at her and goes, "What's the matter? What's the matter with you? You look like you're really down in the dumps." And she said, "I don't know what you did, but what did you do to me?" I said, "What?" She goes, "Look." And she said she had chunks of her hair falling out. And I said, "Well, hey, you don't mess with us." And she walked away, and she was like, her eyes got even larger, and she just took right off, like right now. And that's the thing, folks. I'm not saying that I'm better, but if you practice something dark, you're going to learn your lesson. You don't mess with people like me or anyone else that's doing God's work. That's the way it works, folks. We don't kid around. You can't mess with what we do, because we'll always making sure that I never harmed her, but I taught her a lesson, or a spirit taught her a lesson. Let's see. The audio on my television feed is slightly ahead of the audio on my cell phone, where I'm typing this from, rather than laptop where I usually watch the program. Wow, right after I left the last message, it switched. Now the TV audio is ahead of the cell phone. Yeah, well, you're just trying to get ahead, Mick. Playing catch up to me. Let's see. I was in the military, high up family, and they offered me up as a child for power and money. So in a sense, that forced my third eye to open. Since I was a baby, I have seen things few would understand. Daniel, I understand where you're coming from. I'm happy, and I found your channel. I could talk for hours and end with you about these subjects. Daniel, you're a lot like me. What I went through, very similar things. So I'm glad I met you. I hope you're continuously do well in your work. It's when you, like, I tell people this a lot. When you begin to open up, I may not be the biggest psychic in the world that you see on TV, I was offered opportunity for that for I don't know how many years, but I wasn't say I didn't want to. I did, but anytime when they got really good and people say to me, "Well, if you do this, are you willing to sell your soul?" No, I'm not going to do that. But I'm also very straightforward. I don't play the game. They want me. There's some TV shows that want me to lie for them. Like, oh yeah, just say that the ghost was here. No, I'm not going to tell. I'm not going to lie. I can tell you the truth. So, and they don't like it. So if you're not going to tell a lie or bullshit the public on TV, then they won't take you, and that's just the way it is. Um, so yeah, because I've been offered like a few jobs, a few shows that I could have had. There's one, this guy, American film business or film producer, came to my home about 5, 6 years ago and said to me, I heard about you so much. I've watched your videos and seen what you've done. I would love to have you on and do a TV series. I said, sure. What will it be about? He said, well, there'd be about 6 women that are psychics, and you're going to be the grumpy old man, the medium, and you're going to disagree with all of what the women do. No, I'm not grumpy. I'm too. How can I be grumpy? Miserable, But they want me to be the grumpy old guy and basically argue with the women about what they're given the reading about someone or something, whatever. I'm supposed to be the grumpy guy. I'm like, no. So 6 women against me. No, I'm not playing that game. So I said, we'll change it up. I said, I don't mind being on part of the team, and we'll work on something. If I don't agree with certain things, yes, we can have confrontations, but I'll tell you the truth. And so he said, okay, well, I'll talk to our financial backer and see what they say. So he talked to his financial backer, and the backer said, well, is he American? And he goes, no. Then what is he? So he says he's a Canadian medium. He goes, no, not interested. He said, why? He said, they don't have any humor. Are you kidding me? Oh man, we're not interesting people. Apparently, us mediums are very dull. We don't have excitement. You guys don't know us. We have more excitement out here. I mean, I entertain the public like crazy. I've done it for many, many, many years. But this is what happens, folks. They want to control what you do, and if they don't like it, then you're just like bye bye. And they say, well, we can replace you. Well, go ahead, replace me. I've known a lot of mediums in my life that I've met and worked with. Sylvia Brown, we're good friends for a lot of years before she passed. I've known her since 2005. I've worked with. Actually, I was a bodyguard. I was hired to be a bodyguard to protect James von Prague in Vancouver at one of those conferences. They wanted to hire me as his bodyguard. I'm going like, okay, well, how about me doing how about me being on stage for the first half hour, just get the people started, build up the show, and then when he comes on, he's the man. First thing they said to me, have you written a book? Yes, I have written a book. Are you number 1 bestseller on the book? Well, in my area, yeah. Because well, if you're not number 1 bestseller in the States, then you're just going to be the bodyguard. And I said, okay, fine. So what happened was when James von Prague showed up, did his performance, was sorry, James, but you're piss poor. Only 3 readings out of 600 people being in a room. The rest of it was all workshop. I was not very impressed. I was there watching it. But in the end, they asked me to come on stage to keep the people in line when they're doing autographs with James. And there was a couple of ladies that were standing next to me, and one lady looks at me and she goes, are you James's brother? And I said, no, but I do the same kind of work as he do. And she goes, really? Who do you see with me now? And I'm looking at her and I said, oh, it's your husband. And she goes, what's his name? And I said, his name is Jeff. She goes, you're good. I'm going to come and see you. Like, I'm hearing his name. So I was just off the cuff, just said it. So she came to see me 2 weeks later, and she said she was very happy. She came to see me. She goes, she's glad that she didn't go see James, because she was going to go see James and pay $1,000. Like there are people that are very well off. I mean, you can be, if you're going to be living in a very rich location, like expensive location, you got to pay. your prices go up for what you're worth. But I tell people I'm not cheap, because you're gonna get the value of a read. When you get the value of a read, you're gonna get to get everything as much as I can to give you, right? But if someone says, well, can I get a $20 reading for like 15 minutes? No. Unless I'm doing this for a church, raising money for the church, yes. But if I'm doing it for me, no, because that person will be repeating themselves over and over and over again, asking the same question all the time. And what my job is, when I do give people readings, I tell them the way I see it, how it's going to happen, and 90% of the time they'll call me back and say, I don't know how you know or knew this, but it happened. Well, good. I'm glad. On the positive side, not a negative side. But I never tell you anything that's bad. But if I do something and see something that's not right, I warn you to be aware of it. So that's what I do. Scott says that, Derek, I have been told I have been reincarnated into my family twice, or basically I am my own grandfather, 15 times removed from my guide. Guide is a person's father. Any chance you can feel if it is true? My guide's name's Jonathan. Well, you reincarnated into your family once, not twice. You only came back once. But you came back once for one reason, because you were not done. And I will say this, Scott, because I'm just your energy, your name. Like, I pretty well know your vibration, but you only came back once. You didn't come back twice. You came back once. And the reason why I came back once, because you were not done a specific goal that your time as your father's grandfather, you didn't complete part of your life, and so you wanted to fix it. So you came back one more time to fix your story, fix what you wanted to do, and you did. You got it done. Your quest was to get it complete. You got it finished, and so the next lifetime you're not going to be with the same family. You're going to be with another family somewhere else. But when you do come back, you won't be leaving this earth, Scott, for at least wow, at least a good 90 years, because there's going to be something really good happening for you that you'll be able to live longer. 90 years, not 9 years, 90 years. So you'll be here for a long time. You got things to do, but you'll be learning how to use this particular machine that'll be brought forth to you, and it will learn to reevaluate your age. That you will, it's called a regeneron, and the machine will regenerate your cells, that you will be a lot healthier and well taken care of. So Vivian says, people need to have faith their loved one is safe with the source. Yes. Corlin, I went to see James in Victoria, and he picked me out of the crowd, and he said I should do this as well. Corlin, I told you that too. I told you that a long time ago. I told you that too. I mean, Corlin, you don't realize how talented you are, my girl. You are so talented. You got a gift. I'll be honest with you guys. There are people out there that don't want to be readers, and yet they're very talented. And there's people that don't really have the skill, but they're so interested and want to do something with it. And if they can't be the reader, they get into alternative health, which is great. One or the other, you're going to be involved in it, because the more you practice your skill, the better you are. Because like I tell people all the time, you're always alternatively a healer. Always have been, always will be, every one of you. And we all have a skill. What we choose, I mean, that's why you'll see a lot of people out there today, they'll want to be a family advisor. Like, for example, why does family turn to you for advice? You didn't become a counselor, but how come the family come to you guys for advice? Because you got a mouthpiece, and you guys are always giving people advice. Why does somebody come up to you and say, protect me, I need you to cover my rear end because I got myself in trouble? Why do you do it? Because you chose that. Why did I grow so tall? How come I'm over 6 feet tall? How come I'm not short? Well, you chose that. That's part of that's in your birth contract. You chose to be the tallness, the shortness, the the color, hair color, the hair, and then the family you choose. You chose to become this person for these families. Everyone has a specific journey to take. It's in your birth contract, whether you become like when I came in on this earth this time. Before I was born, I remember seeing I told you guys this before. Some of you may not have known this, but I remember seeing my family. I remember seeing the family I was going to be with. And I remember seeing this doctor saying to this woman, he's not breathing, right? And so here's Joseph, who actually is from the biblical time period. He's actually when Jesus um, uh, followers. And Joseph said to me, he said, you want to go with this family? And I'm looking. Now, there's no clock and watch going, oh, do, 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 do. Well, make up your mind, It's like I made a choice. And the baby is already born, but they did not disconnect the umbilical cord yet. So, and I said, okay, because the energy felt right. I said, yeah, I'll go with this family. And then I felt this, like this feeling of breath, of air. And I was born. I was that baby. And they cut the umbilical cord. That is when the soul enters the child. The child does not have a soul yet until the umbilical cord is cut. That's the soul life of a child. Everyone believes that the soul is in the child once he or she is growing in the mother. No, no. The mother is the life giver, not the soul taker. So the mother is a life giver. That means she carries the child within herself. And then she's putting all those energy memories into the child. Okay. The child's holding the memories. The child does not have a soul yet. The child begin to feel expressions of emotion from the mother, but because she's transferring it to the child. You see? But once the umbilical cord is about to be cut, that is the life source, like boom, the soul is entered now. So anybody who's, and I will be honest with you guys, when they talk about, uh, and this is going to be deep a bit here. For example, say a woman is forced to give up her child, okay, and she has an abortion. Not always the woman's making that decision herself. And I learned this from Spirit. Spirit told me this themselves. It's the choice of the child. Either he or she wants to be with that person. If they want to stay to be born and be raised by that couple or singular or none at all. So they make that choice before birth. That's why when I saw myself before I was born make that choice, that woman could have lost that baby, and I could have said, no, I'm not going to go to her. Boom, the baby's not born, lost a child, and that's it. Right? Child's gone. And she would not be able to carry this child. So then she would have to wait till the next time. You see? So what I've learned is that if a woman gives up her child, is because she made that decision or the child made that decision for her in her mind. Okay. Now, if it was dramatic that the woman, say, was raped, taken down, or hurt, harmed, and forced to carry the child, and if she decided to carry the child through, then all that memory goes with the child before he or she is born, and that struggle of memory will go with her, with that child, when it's born. It'll feel all the emotion with the mother transferred to the child. But if the child had love and nurturing from the relationship, or say, no, child, when the woman had love and nurturing from the man that she was with, and they chose to separate, and she chose not to have the baby, or he decided to leave her behind. She knows she could not take care of the child, so she's forced to give it up. She knows, and it irks her. Like a lot of women feel so bad that they don't want to lose the child. They really do want to carry that life force. Every young woman wants to carry that life force, that little bundle. They don't want to give them up. They really don't. None of them do. No life giver of a woman that would ever want to give up that child. But sometimes they're forced to, because either they think they can't take care of themselves to have the child, or someone in the family will take the child from them and say, you can't take care of the child, you're too young. So the next thing you know, the child's adopted out. So it depends on the situation. Everyone is born on a karmic debt. Every child is born in a karmic debt. We have a birth contract. We choose to be with whom we were going to be with. That's our challenge. This is what we do. We take on what we choose to be, who we choose to be, what we're going to do in life. That's who we are. As we grow older, we learn by our mistakes. Those mistakes are learning lessons. Nothing is ever wrong. Just basically, no matter how much damage you've done to whether others, to yourself, whichever how you do it, that's your decision. You made those soul decisions. They're called soul decisions. That's your decision of how you live your life and walk the land and where you live, where you go. That's your soul decision. No one's telling you what to do. If they tell you what to do, that's you're letting them tell you what to do. Okay? That's not your soul decision. That's you allowing it. Daniel's answer, we're in a spiritual uterus. We die, and then we are actually born. You can look at the soul and see what trimester they are in, hence the Hermit Tarot card, but even higher than the Jester. The Joker Jester is the right hand of the King. Only the Joker could approach the King with humor and also grave news. So good humor is a fantastic sign of true relationship with the divine. I like it. Oh, Summer Rain. Hey, you. Divine Lotus. She calls to herself the lemon. Okay. And there, the Summer Rain. I took Jordan, and he took Jordan when he was 8 weeks old. Yes. You see, I know of Summer Rain. I know her, and every child is going to be a chosen decision by the woman who chooses. Now, here's one thing I will say too. Some children will say, I don't like my mom and dad. I don't care for them. I want to go with somebody else. And so when they go with that person, and they swore up and down they've seen him somewhere before, like, you look familiar, like I know you, like you're, and then you realize after that that person could have been their mom in their past life and never finished that, could never complete that relationship with them. So again, you have a mother-child relationship that never got completed past life now, and that child could have been adopted instead of being just born, birthed through the mother as life giver. Because there are women out there that could not have a child, or not saying could not, stop themselves from having a child, because your soul, your higher consciousness can actually stop you from having a child. You can actually make yourself believe that you cannot carry that child. And if a doctor says to you, oh, you can't carry the child, then you believe it after. But your cell memory will hold you from having the child being born in this world if you're saying you have a hard time having a child. Divine Lois says, Jordan wanted to be with me in this lifetime. She used my brother and his wife. Yes, it's true. You see, you're always making, every child can make a switch to whomever they want to be, to find someone as their guardian or mother role. But we always call it guardian, because basic guardian means like you're watching them and protecting them on the surface. And it's a wonderful thing to do. I mean, I love talking about this because it helps, it gives people some reflection about, I shoulda, woulda, coulda. And there are a lot of women I've met through the years, many women I've met through the years in my readings, that had said to me they've lost their child, or they're forced to give it up. And I said, you know what? Don't feel bad. Just forgive yourself, because the child's not suffering, never had suffered. The child doesn't see you hating it, knowing what your consequences were, you were, and that you had to deal with this, do things this way, because the child will always come back. Here's the thing, folks: the child will always return. If not through this one, the child can return back through someone else. So we have more control of childbirth. God has more control of childbirth than Bill Gates does of saying that we need to depopulate the world. Did you know that? Because Bill Gates sees himself as a god, and he has this, what you call the Depopulation Center. That's the name of his company. It's called the Depopulation Center. what makes him think that he's a god? And he says he wants to take out the children so then he can live more freer. No, he hates people. He likes to be. He's a loner. He doesn't like people being around him. He's an investor in death. Okay, and yet God brings us here, and yet he can eliminate Bill Gates any day, which he already did, by the way. The real Bill Gates has already crossed over, and so is the real Dr. Fauci. Both crossed over. These are the ones you see right now are either CGI or other actors wearing their bodysuits. That's all it is. You look like them, or clones, right? God never made clones. Mankind did, and they're made in Winnipeg, Manitoba. Let's see. Humor gets us through harsh life. Yeah, it's true. We do. Um, yeah, Jordan was it my in your past life? Yes, she was. Jordan was your daughter in your past life. So again, you're not. Everyone will always say, like I said before, repeat it again. When people said to each other, to themselves, to others, is, "Have we met before? Have I seen it before? You look familiar," because you met each other before. That's the way it works. We've all have met each other before. Like all you guys in this chat room before, we've all met each other before somewhere. You see? So, um, yes, excellent. Thank you, Daniel. Excellent point. We actually have zero control giving or taking life. That is completely under greater authority. Well, thank you very much. Well said. Yeah, because I know, like, I learned a lot. I mean, I remember one lady one time said to me, "Well, that's your theory." I didn't use the word theory. I never came up and said, "Well, this is my theory." No, I said, "Spirit said to me, this is what to say." "Oh, that's your theory." No, it's not my freaking theory. God told me this. Spirit said to me. I mean, I've had Jesus come see me twice. I mean, literally in person, see me twice when I was a kid, and I learned from them. I'm with them all the time. I know it, and I hear them talking to me all the time, and so I'm listening to what they show me to share with you guys, or else I wouldn't be not doing these Thursday nights. I'm doing Thursday nights because Thursday is a very refreshing day. And also, it's informative. People love to see what the show is all about. And I like to give people updates about what's going on across the world, as well as local. And then I do readings as well. But I like to give people informative stories and show them the things that I do. So I'm not just your typical guy that's always on the computer all the time looking for the worst thing in the world. I don't do that. I look for informative issues that we need to look at, and we need all of us need to work together to resolve it or find out what we can do to fix it, and or stop whatever, if there's a negative one, to stop it, um, or not to accept the fact that this is what the government's going to try and do. Whether they're telling us what we can. Now, I will say this because it came to me, the one that I want you guys to hear this. I'll bring this up. Might be way back here. But you guys need to hear this one. Or I will basically use the name if it's there. Let's see here. Now, if anybody wants to find me, I'm on the True North Strong and Free page. I actually have my own Telegram page. It's on Telegram. It's called the True North Strong and Free. That's my page on Telegram. I'm also on Facebook, Telegram, or Facebook as well. Same kind of page, but this is better. I got more freer messaging to do, to share this way. At least I got no one says to me, "You can't come in, you can't say nothing." So I'm getting, and the cool part is that Trump's people, they send me stuff in my page, so they're paying attention for what I'm doing. They send me informative things that I want, that will benefit for people like you to see and to read, because there have been folks out there that are try to create misinformation, and they'll try to bring it into Telegram, and you got to watch carefully. Make sure you pay attention to what really is going on, because um, The thing is that, like, let's put it this way: there's some really good people out there that are trying so hard to get the word out, and when you get really well known, then every whether it's YouTube, Facebook, we're trying to ban them from coming on or even saying any words. So they're basically, like I said before, his name is CS. I'm sure you may know who he is by name or by initials. But they're saying right now, coming out, it's called the XBB, the new subvariant of novel C called the XBB is coming. Now apparently it's supposed to be coming from Singapore. Gee, I wonder where that's from. And they already said there's over 4,700 to 11,700 people on. They're supposed to got it. Okay, and it's apparently supposed to be coming our way. Well, how is it come from there to here in 24 hours? And they're all excited to say this, right? And when he was saying it, I'm not going to put it on here, but you need to go to True North Strong and Free. You'll see it on the page. CS is there. He has his own page too as well. And RealChrisky. Okay. And my friend Petra she sent it to me from Mexico. But again, he's trying, the deep state are trying, this is pretty well their last scare tactic to the end of this year, and then it's going to get even cleaned up. Now, I will say this too, for you folks to know this, please understand, we're going to go through the toughest times for the next 2 weeks, and that will probably be in the beginning of November, I mean around the end of this month, beginning of November, and it will be really hard. Don't get upset, just let it ride itself through, because there's a reason why whatever their intentions are to scare you, just ride the freaking surfboard. Enjoy the ride. It's just a show. Okay? That's what I was told. They said it's going to be rough and hard, yes, but ride the show. I'll tell you why, because I was informed by my bank that I will not be able to access my money for 9 days in November. 9 days. Gee, I wonder why. And it's a credit union. Well, even though they're saying that transferring over the one company to one name to another name doesn't take 9 days, but they're doing it to let us know gracefully that there's no money coming in or no money to transfer back and forth from one account to the other for 9 days. So that's from the 4th of November to the 14th of November. That's 10 days, 10 days. So I won't have no money between that time and that time. I can't access, I won't be able to do any, debits, no, well, I can do credit card, but no debits, and probably credit cards won't be working, and no e-transfer. So basically, I will have to have plenty of cash on hand between those 2 dates. Geez, it sounds like 10 days to 2 weeks. Remember I told you guys that before? My bank informed me. So between the 4th and the 14th, remember the 5th of November. Do you remember that guy? Right? Scott Hare, you remember that line? Remember the 5th of November? It's about to begin. Okay? And that's from the movie V for Victory, and that movie itself was based on, was actually what it was. It actually was a documentary to tell you it really is going to happen, and this is why we're in it. Okay? It's the end. We are just beginning. Exactly. V for Vendetta. That's the movie. I call it V for Victory, but it's V for Vendetta. If you haven't seen the movie, watch it. Watch the movie V for Vendetta, and you'll have a better understanding. The guy behind the mask, he was for real. The original fellow that created that idea, he was there to fight against the system, the corporation. and he went way back in time. And so the 5th of November was a very significant date, and they're using it even for this one as we speak. Okay, so this is, it's like, this is how it works. What's that noise? Sounds like frogs. Do you believe in second Pentecost event as this 2000 age closes? Do you believe in the rapture as well? 90% of the true cult completely believe. The rapture's already gone. It's been gone a long time ago, Daniel. The rapture is no longer here anymore. That was gone a long time ago. I believe the rapture came through when we did the 19, when we had the Guy Fawkes as the person. Yeah, we went through that rapture clean through a long time ago. It won't. None of that will ever happen. That was not even a prediction. That was more like, here's what could happen. Okay. They're making it where. Let's see here. Yeah. Yeah, they're making it where it could have happened, but see, here's the thing. Operation Looking Glass changed it. If you understand what Operation Looking Glass is, folks, it changed it. It fixed it. It actually made it better. And yeah, Vivian says, watch the movie and you'll see a lot of parallels right now. Exactly. This is all, we call it a documentary. It's just showing you, here's what's going to happen, and it's all coming up, right? U.S. midterm elections are the 8th of November, or so it makes sense. Yeah, it does. They said, remember the 5th of November, so it's all coming up, right? And Joe B, okay, he is going to be that guy who is going to be, and next thing you know, he's gone in November. Watch closely, folks. Watch closely. It's you'll be surprised. It's going to be a shock for some, but we already know the real GB has been gone, or JB's been gone for a long time. Somebody wrote it down. Let's see. Thank you very much. Remember, the 5th of November, gunpowder, treason, and plot. I see no reason why gunpowder treason should never be forgot. That's what it means, folks. Thank you, Scott. Appreciate it. It had a purpose, and if you read the words carefully, this is where it's going to come up, and it happens this year. Now, we discussed it last year, and it almost came that direction, but again, there was the swamp that had to be extra cleaned, so there was a holdback on it. There was more underground tunnels that had to be cleaned out before they had to carry on through. So basically, we are just sitting through this for a tiny bit, but it will get better all the time. So yeah, Vivian says anonymous, and Scott says Guy Fawkes. Guy Fawkes actually was the one that actually said, remember the 5th of November. Like I said before, watch the movie or read the book. It's worth your while. Derek, that video I sent to you, do you think all First Nations of Canada follow suit to abolish Indian Act? The young lady herself actually is Indigenous herself, and she's from Ontario. Reason why we're trying to get rid of the Indian Act, because the Indian Act limitation, it creates a limitation of who you are as far as identity is concerned. And for giving an example, I mean, I don't want to be that too political, but for example, there are couples that fall in love, a white girl and then a First Nations person. Doesn't mean she's going to have a First Nations card, but they're not allowing her to move on the reservation with him. Or if he does marry her, then he's kicked off the reservation. Well, why did they kick him off? Well, because they're making it where that's their territory. Well, number one, That reservation was made specifically to be a a place not of safety. That was a place to keep you off the land, the rest of the crown, because the reservation did not belong to the crown. It belonged to the First Nations. But once you're off the land, then you're all walking on crown land. That's why. So, but the queen is no longer alive. There's no longer crown. So they're all reservations right now, as I speak, called reserves. All reservations right now are no longer controlled by government. Your land, all reservations now are where you place your feet. Here's what I've learned from what they call discovery. You take your stick, you make a stake in the ground, and you claim. It's called land claim. When a band makes a land claim, that's their territory. That means not even the government can actually interfere. But once a government official decides to put a building of theirs on a reservation, they're claiming the building as theirs and not belonging to the First Nations, which is very entirely wrong. So that's because they're making it where that belongs to the Queen. Well, the Queen's dead, okay, for a long time. So there are some differences, I would say, folks, to start to really, like there are so many things out there that don't make any sense, but it will take time to let others know. Oh, pardon me. To let others know I'm not tired. That's what the energy is like. It gets really strong in here sometimes. The energy like that. It's like it becomes controversial, where even if I make an opinion, some people get really mad at me and say, "Well, you're wrong. You know what you're talking about." Well, I've learned a lot because I work on reservations a lot myself through the years. I mean, my first being on the reservation, I was 6 years old. So on a Lakota reservation in Manitoba. So I back in the 60s, I had my first powwow in the 1960s, 60. Oh my God, 62, 63. Now that's when it was illegal to practice any native teachings, any native ceremonies, and we had a powwow, a secret powwow, and I was there. So I'll never forget that day. When I was there, um, I learned a lot. I mean, just being there. I remember being a witness. Here's a 6-year-old, 7-year-old kid looking at a black robe, a priest with three police officers with guns in their hands, ready to shoot anyone if they didn't leave the powwow or shut everything down, leave, go back home. Like and it was the priest that was leading the freaking charge. It wasn't the RCMP. It was a freaking priest. Okay, he led the charge. Get up! Like, are you kidding me? Guns in the air, shooting off, chasing people home. A priest leading the charge. Now, you tell me if he's supposed to be a peaceful man? I don't think so. And I was there. Yeah, he led the gunpowder plot to blow up Westminster Palace in 1605. Anonymous has been using the expression. Remember, everyone has. Everyone has been using that expression because people don't realize Anonymous actually is JJ Jr., JFK Jr., right? He plays Anonymous too. So, have you talked with Satan face to face? You said you met Jesus twice. I've met Satan as a child because what happened to me? What did you learn from your encounter? Jesus met me in the garden in my home when I was on the farm. I remember seeing this beautiful beam of light come across the land, and there he was right there, boom. And he greeted himself to me. I somehow knew who he was, and I was talking to him. But have I met Satan? I would say in one way through a theater, yes. But the way I seen it was very sickening when I watched the movie Exorcist, where I don't know what it was. but it made me turn sick. I wasn't scared. I ran out of the building when I saw the head turn and the growling, because they replicate the growling of a demon. And I ran out the door of the theater, and I went out back, and I was throwing up. I was throwing up, like literally. I was like, I couldn't breathe. And I was 16, 17, no, 18 then. And I've never, and my girlfriend sitting next to me on the seat, she was laughing. That was so funny. Ah, but she was high. She smoked a joint before she went in. And this is back in 70, oh my God, 70, 77, 78, around there. Yeah. 77, 78, where she, 77? No, take it back. No, less than that. 76, 1976. Yeah, we were watching The Exorcist, and the year it was released, I think it was 76. And she was sitting next to me laughing her ass off, but she was higher than a freaking kite. She just finished smoking a joint before she walked in. So to her, through her eyes, she thought it was funny. To me, I never smoked it, so I was sitting there like, whoa. And I got caught up in it, and because when I watch a movie, I mean, my mother and I used to watch horror movies a lot. Mom and Dad used to go to theaters, drive-in theaters, and they were always mom always wanted to go see a horror movie all the time, and I'd be there in the back seat with my sister, and I'm sneaking up over the edge and watching it. Some of the horror movies with my mom or my dad, and my dad hated them, but my mom liked them, and so it's my mom and I used to sit and watch them. There was one movie that came out back in the 1950s or 60s. It's called The 13th Ghost, and that was actually half of that movie was actually made that was real, because when they did the when they did the Ouija board in the building with this movie on The 13th Ghost. This is back not the new 13th Ghost, but the older one back in the black and white. But when they did that one, they did the it was the Ouija board, and the Ouija board actually the planchette levitated off the ground, and it kept turning towards some of the people in that room, and there was no strings holding it up. And they said there's a lot of major paranormal activity happened that day or that night when they were doing the movie itself. It was because they were doing some really deep stuff. Howard Alexander, why do I attract the evil in people to come out? And I know it, even let them know why, yet they still try to harm me and lose. Because you're a healer, Howard. You don't attract you're not attracting the evil in people. You're attracting the goodness of them, and the evil comes out first. What these people? These people carry the residual of not evil, but they carry a residual of anger and fear and pain and hate, and you're drawing it out of them. Every time you approach them, you're doing it because you care. That's my feeling, and so you're not attracting the evil. Evil is attracted to you. That it's trying to chase you away because you're trying to do good. You're trying to give people hope, and it pisses off the evil. It pisses off the bad persons, the bad energy. So no, you're just being challenged. And you know that, well, if it's a physical harm or spiritual harm, but the thing is that you need to do a prayer protection before you start to even talk to people at times. It's best for you to make sure that you protect yourself with guiding white light and God's light. Yeah, Exorcist the movie caused a lot of trauma for a long time in my childhood. Biggest mistake in my life watching it. Well, it's not the ideal mistake. It's a learning lesson too. What I learned from it actually gave me a lot of experience. I'll tell you something, because from the movie The Exorcist is based on a story, on a true story called The Haunted Boy, Friends of mine, Christopher St. Booth, actually, him and his brother basically did a documentary, and they met one of the guys that had done the exorcism of the boy that was haunted, that boy that was possessed. Like this is based on from the movie Exorcist. And they actually, the priest himself, before he died, gave Christopher his book that he wrote all the information down about the procedure and what he did. It was a diary of the haunted boy, and I've got a copy of the diary of the haunted boy, and I've got the video of it too. But what Christopher St. Booth and his brother did is they um, did a documentary on it, and it's called The Haunted Boy. If you want to go look for it, folks, it's called The Haunted Boy, and that is the um, you can go on. There's a website called Spooked. There should be a TV series, but they got the Christopher St. Booth. Look for Christopher St. Booth, him and his brother. And they're the ones that actually make all these videos, documentaries, and they're paranormal investigators as well. They're ex rock and rollers. These guys they're actually were of the band Sweeney Todd. That's why I know these guys. Okay, so Christopher actually he met one of the fellows, both him and his brother. Everybody did actually. I didn't meet him, but I've got the video. I've got the documentary video of it, and Christopher actually autographed one of the posters and the booklet that sent me the copy of the diary of that priest that actually was actually helping to try to exorcise that boy that was possessed. There is a huge difference between fallen angels and demons. The Exorcist was based on the demon and not a fallen son of God. I can tell the difference between comparing a man to a gorilla. Well, I had a boy come and see me. He was 16 years old, two of them actually, but one separately, and his eyes turned jet black. He was possessed. His mother brought him to me many years ago, back in the 90s, and she needed my help to get him depossessed. Both him and his friends were in the graveyard, and they had a Ouija board, and they're messing with the wrong locations. And I guess he got possessed and took advantage of him. His eyes turned jet black when he was not really good, in a good state. So the boy was possessed, and so the mother was asking me to help depossess him. So with my help, and also from the chief Crow Dog, Leonard Crow Dog, both and I helped the young boy out, and I brought him to Leonard Crow Dog, and both of us, like he on his own, did the ceremony to exorcise the boy as well. At the same time, we did a Yuipi ceremony, calling in the spirits of the dark, and he depossessed the boy after, and the boy had no knowledge that he was being depossessed, because suddenly he fell asleep, like his eyes just closed, and took the demon out and took it away. And so, but Leonard Crow Dog, who's a Lakota from the Rosebud Reserve, he's now passed away, but he was the one that was responsible to help that boy being depossessed. So both of us were working together on this kid. Yeah. Listen to the recording of Exorcism of Annalise Michelle. That gives me chills thinking. Yeah, because the demon's inside the girl. There's a fellow that I know who actually is a practicing priest. He actually carries the Bible with him all the time. He actually depossesses people that are actually possessed. I can't remember his name. He's got a beard, and he has his daughter helps him out, and they right in the chapel. I'm telling you, this guy is really good, talented, but he gets the demon right out of those people, individuals. He's very, very talented man. Never understood why people mess with Ouija boards. Well, Scott, I'll tell you, I had my first experience with Ouija board back in Winnipeg, Manitoba. When I was 10 years old, I did not know it was a Ouija board at first. I was invited to come to a birthday party, twin brothers, and they're both from England, and just down the alley, up a couple blocks from my house. And I was invited to come to the birthday party, and there's a Jewish boy, myself, from the party. What was left in the end, there was a lot of kids there. Most of them went home except myself, the Jewish boy, and the twin brothers. And they just got the one. They opened up the wrapping, and it was actually the Ouija board. And we're in the basement. and there was a wooden coffee table, square one, and there was two couches, one each side. The twin brothers were on one side, and I was on this side, and the Jewish boys on my right. And as soon as they opened it up and they opened the board, and the Jewish boy said, "That's the devil's board." And this kid's 10, the same age as me. He said, "This devil's board." And I'm getting this really weird feeling from that board. Like even before what he said, like something's not right. I don't feel comfortable here. For all of a sudden, I don't feel right. And one of the brothers said, "Oh no, you're crazy. You're crazy. I'll prove it." And the boys are going like, the twin brother is like, "How are you going to prove it?" So the Jewish boy said, "I can prove it." So he took his Star of David and he said, "I'll show you." He said, "The Star of David is God's symbol." He said, and this is what he'll say. He said he took the Star of David and he said out loud, "If this is the devil's board, you will burn. If you're God's board, you will not burn." And he placed the Star of David on top of the board. We saw, all of us witnessed black smoke coming out from all four sides of the Ouija board, and it smelled like sulfur. And the one brother reached over and kicked the board off the table, and there's a black burnt mark on top of the coffee table. I was up and had gone out that back door. I went home, ran home, and never looked back. Never came back. That was it. I was gone. It's like, you don't mess with Ouija boards, folks. And I'll tell you right now, in the UK, back in 1972, in the UK, they passed a law that it's illegal to sell Ouija boards in children's toy stores. Okay, in the UK, in Canada, United States, it's not even illegal. In fact, they insist on children actually using Ouija boards, and they're also making Barbie type Ouija boards with Barbie connected to it, like Barbie stuff style, and they also have one that glows in the dark. So, oh look, Barbie look, Ken looks dead. No wonder he looks like he's androgynous. There's nothing in there. They sterilized Ken when they used the Ouija board. Okay, there's a huge difference. Yeah, right. Okay. Well, I want to thank you guys so much for coming on in the chat room tonight. This is a really wonderful night. Thank you for responding, and yeah, a lot of fun doing it. Any divination device is so dangerous. Has many cases I went to started with a Ouija. Um, I've got. I do use my own special tools to help find dead people, and not every divination tool is dangerous. When I tell people this, first of all, no matter what kind of tool you use, you can use glass. Some people will use a glass and face it down, and the top end is that people put fingers on top, and you'll treat it like a Ouija board. And you can communicate no matter what kind of tool you use. It doesn't always take it doesn't just take the word. Like the word Ouija means yes and no. That's all it is. It's just a different language, means yes and no. And they're just tools. But what I also tell people, first of all, what you got to do if you're going to mess with Ouija boards, make sure you actually do a prayer of protection first, and ask for guiding white light to protect you while you're doing the Ouija or the questioning. When you're done, and this is the biggest mistake people make. When you're done, you don't just put the board away. You do a prayer, you thank the spirits for coming, and you tell them to go back where they belong and close the veil. You ask them to close the veil. Nothing actually stays behind. Once you get that feeling the veil is closed, then you close the board. The biggest mistake is people will actually say, close the board and go away, and next thing you know, the whole house is going freaking weird. Okay? You wonder why so many girls have nervous breakdowns. Because most of the women, young girls, are the ones that are playing with Ouija boards more than boys. More than boys. Girls do. Yeah. So you have to close the veil first. You ask Spirit to give you guidance and close the veil first before you quit playing the game. If you call it a game or whatever you're doing, no matter what it is, because myself as a medium, when I ask Spirit for guidance, those who want to talk to me, communicate with me, I do seances, which is like a Ouija, but I'm connected to Spirit, whatever who wants to come through to talk to me. Okay, and the seance is a little different. We don't like seances are not common here in British Columbia. In Manitoba, yes. They do seances a lot in Manitoba, because Manitoba in the East Coast is one of the most haunted provinces in Canada. But they even their settlements began. People settled there back in the 1650s. That's why it's got so much history. A lot of ghostly figures. But again, back in the mid 1800s, there was a spiritualist church became big into mediumship, very much like the UK. That's so they always work back and forth between each other. Here in BC, British Columbia, there are spiritualist churches, but they don't use Ouija boards. They don't use certain things that other churches, other congregations use. So we're a little slightly different. Yeah, Milton Bradley calls it a game, I know. And the thing is that to them it's money. They don't care who they affect. To them, they thought it was a game. But see, you guys need to remember, Milton Bradley is not the original was not the original person that actually created that board. It was someone else. They bought the rights from that person that made the board. So they're the ones that they didn't create it. Someone else did. And that person that created the board was actually was connected to Aleister Crowley. Get it now? So now you know. Mick says, I had a bad experience using the Ouija board trying to contact spirits inside the Warfield Theater in San Francisco back in 1985. Yeah. I tell people, like, you guys, if you ever wanted to use Ouija boards, make sure you don't use it by yourself. You know, if you're going to, you have to feel comfortable and safe. So, Daniel, thank you. Awesome channel. You were awesome answering my questions. We'll try to make it next Thursday. And also, I will subscribe. Thank you very much, guys. Yeah, if you guys can like and subscribe my YouTube page, do a check mark that you like it, and as well as share with others as well this whole program. I'd love to hear it from you guys. If you want to find me, or if you want to make an appointment for a reading, it's White Sky Cloud at yahoo.com, whiteskycloud at yahoo.com. And I also have another email called spiritchaser1 at gmail.com. That's spiritchaser1 at gmail.com. And I'm also on my Facebook. If you want to make a friend on Facebook, if you're not there yet, go to there. You'll see me holding an alien in my arm, an alien baby. That's where you want to make me a friend in there. Also, I have my True North Strong and Free page and Telegram. And yeah, if you want to find out what's going on across the world, folks, make it happen. Kathy, long time no see. Yeah, Kathy Underwood, one of my students. There's a lady that I was helping train use her skills. Very, very wonderful young lady. So anyways, guys, I really appreciate you guys coming on the program, and I'm leaving you guys, loving and leaving you guys. Be God be with you guys. Enjoy the weekend. Coming up, and the weekend's going to be a big one for everybody. Enjoy. And I think there have been BC here, we're supposed to get rain. Yeah, right.
Everyone lives, everyone dies. Everyone loves, everyone cries. Round the world we're all alike. So why is there war? Why do we fight? There's one sea, one sky, one earth. So you and I gotta learn to live together. When one hurts, when one needs, we all gotta learn to live together. Peace, make peace, make peace. Stop time, isn't it time? Mother, stop crying. Stop the fighting and the hate. We gotta make peace before it's too late. one sky, one earth. So you and I gotta learn to live together. With one heart, with one need, we all we gotta learn to live